Recently I did the top 10 questions for Muslims, and I asked some of my friends to give me their suggestion what they would like me to talk about, top 10 questions. And no matter who I ask, what sort of list I go, always home financing comes as a number one. And I'm not surprised because Muslims are young. Muslims are very young, and this is one of their primary issues. Now, there are people who say, don't worry, you don't need to own the home. You can just rent. It's not haram to rent. But I think when I look at the news and I look at where we are, how we are, what is going on, I see lots of uncertainty, troubles, issues. And I don't know if you don't own your home, how it is going to be for you to live, how you're going to settle, relax, and feel that you belong somewhere. So I don't take issue of owning home very lightly. I take it as a very serious issue. And matter of the survival. Today, alhamdulillah, we have many alternatives. Some are better than others. We must push for whatever is the better. And we might not get everything right in every detail, but we must try hard, work with these institutions, try to advise them, to change them, depending on our abilities. And there is no choice. We have to establish the alternatives. And there is no excuse. And I can see that we are always improving. In terms of what questions should we be asking when we are buying the home or any other financing, and what are some of the misconceptions, as I said before, main misconception is when we think that everything is the same. So we say, okay, this is the same like a bank and so on. So we have seen the verses in Quran telling us about people who say the trade is same like interest, and what happened to them and what will happen to them. We don't want to be like these people who see everything is the same. Because if we look at and say everything is the same, then we could say that for everything in our life. Halal food is same like non-halal food, you know. So it doesn't make sense. We have to go and look deeper into these things. So some of the questions that we should ask, for example, is about this relationship between finance company, the customer, how everything is done, what contracts are being used, who sign off, which school of thought are we following, and not just traditional schools of thought, but when it comes to finance, for example, standards, which Sharia standards like IOFI standards, or what standard do we believe in, what are we trying to implement, is the contract genuine, how we are pricing, transferring ownership, what we are doing, what's happening with the title. And even if we see some of the things that don't make sense to us, we need to ask why we are doing this. So for example, let's say we are transferring the property in the sale contract, and in some jurisdictions in order to avoid taxation, they would create a bare trust where that trust takes the property and then they sell it to the customer to satisfy the condition of accepting the ownership and avoiding the taxation, double taxation. So we need to understand why we are doing certain transactions. Are we trying to trick Sharia, or are we trying to genuinely satisfy the conditions of the Sharia? So we need to explain if the title is in our name or in joint name, why it is such and such. Is it because we are playing some games, or because we believe by offer and acceptance we buy, and there are some reasons why we do this or that. So all of these things we need to look. We need to look and analyze. And these are the questions. Sometimes we should ask people of knowledge, sometimes the experts. Depends on how much we trust the people. I think for most of the people, the best is always to look at the people who approve, who understand what is happening. Because I know also that there is on the other side lots of skeptics who don't look necessarily in details, but they are ready to give fatwas. And this is not right again. So we need to make sure that whatever questions we are asking, they are informing us and we understand the rules, and then we are making informed judgment, or we are speaking with someone who is making informed judgment based on this. And with these things, it's a matter of a judgment. What renders transaction as invalid? At which point, this detail, that details. It's hard, especially in Western countries, to have everything 100%, but at which point do these things render the whole thing invalid? And not always it's like we have a riba. No, sometimes it's not about riba, sometimes it's about other details in the contract. So we need that judgment, scholarly and academic and expert judgment.